The beef between Nelly and Chingy was one of the funniest and most unintimidating ordeals perhaps in the history of rap itself. I was surprised how many people either forgot or had never even known that they were into it at one point. We did a short recapping the scuff up and oh boy, did it do numbers. In fact, it's the first video that we've ever done to hit 1 million views. And this gave me an idea. I wanted to go into more detail not only about that beef, but the history of beef itself in the rap game. From playful competition to dangerous game of life and death. I'm Nate the Great from TakeFlight214.com, and this is Conflict and Controversy, the history of beef in rap. But before we get started, please, as always, take a second to hit that like button for me. It's the best way to help us to continue to grow as a channel. But with that being said, let's jump into it. One of, if not the first known rap beef, went down in 1981 New York City between Kool Moe Dee and Busy B Starsky. Having earned a reputation as a party rapper who knew how to work a crowd, Busy B came on stage and did his usual routine at the Harlem World Christmas celebration. While doing so, he decided to throw some shade on Moe Dee's name. Well, Kool Moe Dee happened to be in the building too that night, so he took to the stage and unleashed a lyrical diatribe so epic that it shook the walls of the building from all of the crowd reaction. And it was at that moment rap beef was born. Another infamous beef from back in the day came between the Boogie Down Productions featuring KRS-One and Mr. Magic's Juice Crew. It started because Mr. Magic, who had pulled at one of the most popular radio stations in the city back then, said that one of KRS-One's songs was whack. They went back and forth in song format, talking about which borough was the true birthplace of rap, but the knockout punch came when MC Shan dropped Kill That Noise, which inspired KRS-One to release The Bridge Is Over. And not only that, the battle was over. KRS-One went down as a legend, and the song is now a classic. Throughout the 80s, there were a series of notable beefs. Roxanne Shante versus Roxanne, Kool Moe Dee versus LL Cool J, and a whole host of others. But throughout all this time, beef had been relatively friendly and kept on wax. This would all change when the 90s went into full swing. 1995 is the moment where rap beef spilled into the streets and became real-world violence. At that time, two of the most iconic rappers to ever live were in the prime of their career. Tupac and Big were both young superstars in the game. Pac had been around a bit longer, but Big's talent allowed him to close distance fast. They started out cool, but legend has it, misunderstandings led them to becoming what would turn out to be mortal enemies. They went at each other so hard that it sparked the infamous East Coast-West Coast beef. Sadly, the beef will culminate with Pac being gunned down in 1996, and Big following shortly after 6 months later. The loss of two of the game's biggest personalities jarred the industry for a bit. Guys realized that maybe it's not such a good idea to push things that far. That is, until 50 Cent came along, of course. No one used rap beef to create their own narrative and marketing like 50 Cent did. In the beginning, it started out all fun and games for 50. He harkened back to the old school days with songs like How to Rob, playfully naming rappers and R&B singers. But when he set his sights on Ja Rule, things took a turn for the grim. The reason for the beef varies depending on who you ask. 50 says it was because he saw Ja speaking to some dude that had robbed one of 50's partners. Ja said that he really didn't even know the guy in question, and 50 was really just trying to build a buzz off of his name. As always, the truth probably lies somewhere in the middle, but the point is, 50 Cent made it a personal goal of his to flat out ruin Ja Rule's career. After years of onslaught from one of the most popular rappers in the game, 50 wound up accomplishing just that. Today, Ja Rule is relegated to being the face of scams perpetuated by douchebag frat boys, while 50 is a household name. During this time, there were more classic rap beefs as well. None more notable perhaps than Jay-Z and Nas beef. Jay-Z and Nas took it back to the old school with a competition merely about skill. And although it did get a bit personal at certain points, it never really went further than just music. As the dismantling of Ja Rule by 50 Cent was in progress, beef in the rap game had gained a new breath of life in the early 2000s. It was a golden era of sorts for rap conflict. It was almost like it became trendy. Guys were beefing for reasons that were so petty that one could only assume the real reason had to be clout building. The phenomenon got so big that in 2003, the first of a 3-part beef documentary series was released. The first beef series covered KRS-One versus MC Shan, Kool Moe Dee versus Busy Bee, 50 Cent versus Murder Inc., True Life versus Mobb Deep, etc., etc. The aim of the piece was to highlight how beef was killing hip-hop. But that message went unheard, and rap beef only ramped up from there. Following the success of Beef 1, Beef 2 was released in 2004, covering older beefs like LL Cool J versus Cannabis to newer ones like Cypress Hill versus Ice Cube and D12 versus Royce da 5'9". Beef had become profitable, and it looked like it wouldn't be slowing down anytime soon. When 2005 rolled around, Beef 3 was released, and this was the one that featured the aforementioned Nelly versus Chingy altercation. That all started because Nelly wanted to sign the fellow St. Louis rapper to his Dirty ENT label, but Chingy opted to sign with Ludacris instead. Yeah, petty, I know. But hey, what you expect? This was the beef-happy early 2000s. There was no way that Nelly could let something like that slide. Hell you mean? Chingy even tried to squash the juvenile beef, but Nelly wanted to play it tough. The beef spilled out into music, with subliminal disses being issued by both parties. Many to this day didn't even know that the songs that they were making were meant to be diss tracks. As the early 2000s came and went, rap beef was alive and well, but to the credit of all involved at that point, it had mostly been kept on wax. This would all change in 2012 with the emergence of drill rap. Following the success of guys like Chief Keef, Lil Reese, Lil Durk, and others, drill introduced the hyper-realistic rap style of kids in Chicago. The birth of drill saw beef take a whole new, much more deadly turn. Guys from different neighborhoods would air out their disagreements on songs, much like in the old days. But the difference now was that they didn't keep it on songs. Violence often followed in the streets. Dudes made songs celebrating their fallen ops and all but self-snitching. It became an epidemic, especially when drill began to spread around the country and other cities started to get in on the action. There was a time where the passing of Pac and Big was a jarring, surreal moment for fans of rap. It caused pause and retrospection of where we were actually going with this. But at the height of the drill movement, it seemed like a different young rapper was going every other week. It sadly became routine. As the drill movement seems to be losing steam now, rap beef is still going strong, albeit in a more abated fashion again, thankfully though. And with it being the golden era of women rappers, and no shade, but we know how catty women can be sometimes. So there's been no shortage of disagreement in today's industry, but it's carried different, which is a relief from where we're coming from. Even some of the long-standing beefs from back in the day was finally squashed. Famously, the one between Jeezy and Gucci Mane that they seemingly resolved during their Versus episode. Oddly enough, beef and rap seems to go hand in hand. There's this strange synergistic relationship between the two that exists in no other music or entertainment genre. Years ago, I pondered the question, why is it that rappers can't coexist the way artists of other music genres do? But I came to the realization that it's kind of just baked into the art form. Rap was born out of the trenches, the struggle of so many in the hood fighting to get out. And rap is infused with this fighter's mentality. The drive to show and prove to the world that you have way too much talent and ability to be languishing in such a subpar state. Can this sometimes lead to negativity? Yes, and it often has. But if carried out in a constructive fashion, it can lead to some of the greatest art known to man. But what do you think? Hit us up in the comment section and let us know how you feel. And if you made it this far, then I can't thank you enough for watching the video all the way through. And I hope that you smash the like button for me. And if you want to be updated whenever we drop new videos such as this, then hit the subscribe button and then the notification bell. That way you can be reminded every time a new episode drops. But with that being said, I'm Nate the Great from TakeFlight214.com signing out. Until next time, peace.